Welcome to the channel The Coin Merchant, and listen carefully because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you look at every single penny in your pocket, your couch cushions, your change jar, and your car cup holder with completely different eyes, because right now, today, in the year you're watching this video, there are 1995 Lincoln pennies quietly sitting in circulation, tucked in wallets, rattling around in coffee cans in garages, and resting at the bottom of fountain pools, and some of these pennies, coins that most people wouldn't even bother picking up off the sidewalk, have changed hands for amounts so staggering that even seasoned numismatists had to do a double take, because this coin, this humble copper-colored 1-cent piece dated 1995, has sold for as much as $16 million, and if that number didn't stop you cold, then go ahead and read it again, because that is not a typo, not an exaggeration, and not clickbait. That is the documented, verified, jaw-dropping reality of what the rarest, most perfectly preserved examples of the 1995 Lincoln cent can command from the world's most serious collectors. And before you laugh or scroll away, consider this: the person who found one of these coins almost certainly didn't go searching for it. They probably received it as change at a gas station or found it wedged between the seat cushions of an old car. And that one moment of recognition, that one split-second decision to look closer instead of toss it in a cup, is the difference between holding a piece of copper worth 1 cent and holding a life-changing fortune. So stay with me, because in the next few minutes I'm going to show you exactly what to look for, exactly what makes certain 1995 pennies worth millions while most are worth a cent, and exactly how you can become the person who spots one before it disappears forever. The year 1995 was a fascinating time in American coinage history, and to understand why certain pennies from this year became so extraordinarily valuable, you have to understand what was happening inside the Philadelphia and Denver mints during that period. Because the early to mid-1990s represented a particularly complex era for the United States Mint, as they were navigating new die production techniques, experimenting with updated machinery, and processing enormous quantities of coins to meet demand from a growing economy. And it's precisely within that complexity that errors are born, tiny, almost invisible mistakes that transform an ordinary coin into a numismatic legend. The most significant variety that sends collectors into an absolute frenzy when it comes to the 1995 Lincoln cent is the famous double die obverse, and this is where things get really interesting, because a double die isn't just a blurry or smeared coin. It's the result of a very specific mechanical process during the die hubbing stage of coin production, where the working die receives multiple impressions from the master hub, and if those impressions are not perfectly aligned, the design elements become doubled, creating a coin where letters, numbers, and details appear to have a distinct shadow or echo of themselves. And on the 1995 double die penny, this effect is dramatically visible to the naked eye. You don't need a magnifying glass, you don't need special equipment, you just need to look at the word Liberty on the obverse and the date. And if you see what appears to be a second set of letters slightly offset from the first, you may be holding something extraordinary. Now here's where I want you to really pay attention, because identifying a genuine 1995 double die requires knowing exactly what you're looking for and exactly where to look, starting with the word "I" and "God We Trust" at the top of the obverse, where the doubling is particularly pronounced and clear, then moving to the date itself, where each individual digit should show clear, unmistakable separation between the primary and secondary impression, and finally to the word Liberty on the left side of Lincoln's portrait, where the doubling creates an almost three-dimensional effect that makes the letters appear to leap off the coin. And if your coin shows strong, clear doubling in all of these locations, your heart should be beating a little faster right now. Can you imagine just for a second being the person who discovers this coin while sorting through a roll of pennies purchased at the bank? Thousands of people have done exactly that, sat down at the kitchen table with a roll of pennies, a good light source, and maybe a basic magnifying glass, and there it is, a 1995 penny that looks just slightly different from all the others, with those telltale doubled inscriptions that mark it as something the mint never intended to release, something that slipped through quality control and ended up in circulation, waiting to be found. The discovery stories surrounding the 1995 double-die penny are genuinely remarkable, and they span the entire country, with coins having been found in everyday situations that most of us experience every single day: change received from a grocery store cashier, coins pulled from a parking meter, pennies found in the street. And each discovery story represents a moment where an ordinary person's life was fundamentally changed by a combination of knowledge and luck, and the knowledge part is something you can acquire right here, right now, which means the only variable remaining is luck, and luck favors the person who is actually looking. If you're enjoying this exploration of hidden coin fortunes and you haven't subscribed yet, smash that subscribe button right now, because the Coin Merchant is your best source for the rare coin knowledge that could literally change your financial future, and we drop new content regularly so you'll never miss another valuable discovery. Hit that like button too if this 1995 penny has you reaching for your coin jar. Now let's talk about grading, because this is where the difference between a valuable coin and an extraordinarily valuable coin becomes crystal clear. And understanding the grading scale is essential knowledge for any serious coin hunter. The Sheldon scale runs from poor 1 at the bottom through good, very good, fine, very fine, extremely fine, about uncirculated, and then into the mint state grades from MS 60 through the pinnacle MS 70, and for a coin like the 1995 double-die penny, this grading matters enormously, because a circulated example showing significant wear might sell for thousands of dollars, while a pristine mint state example graded MS 65 red or higher can command exponentially more, and the specific coins that have reached those headline-grabbing price points are invariably the finest known examples, coins that somehow survived the minting process, distribution, and storage without ever experiencing the wear and handling that affects most circulated coins. The PCGS and NGC, which are the Professional Coin Grading Service and the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation respectively, are the two most trusted third-party grading services in the world, and having your coin authenticated and graded by one of these organizations is absolutely essential before you consider selling or insuring a potentially valuable specimen, because without that certification you'll have difficulty establishing value and finding serious buyers, and counterfeits do exist in this market. So professional authentication protects both seller and buyer, and the process itself is straightforward. You submit your coin, pay a grading fee, and receive it back encapsulated in a tamper-evident holder with the grade clearly marked, and this certification is what transforms a coin from a potentially valuable piece to a verifiably valuable treasure with documented provenance and condition. Hold on, because the next coin we're going to reveal has a story that takes the drama we've been building here and somehow makes it even more intense. Keep watching. The market dynamics surrounding the 1995 Lincoln cent double die have evolved in fascinating ways over the decades since these coins were first identified and confirmed, and understanding those dynamics helps explain both the extraordinary values these coins can achieve and why collector interest continues to remain so intensely strong, because unlike many rare coins whose appeal is limited to specialized collectors, the 1995 double-die penny occupies a unique position in American numismatics. As a coin that crosses over from specialist interest to general public fascination, partly because of its accessibility, this is a coin that could theoretically still be found in circulation, and partly because of the dramatic doubling that makes it visually distinctive even to someone with no numismatic background. The auction records for top-tier examples of the 1995 Lincoln cent double die represent some of the most dramatic moments in recent numismatic history, with competition among serious collectors driving prices to levels that once would have seemed impossible for a coin that was minted within living memory and began its life worth exactly 1 cent, and these auctions, conducted by major houses like Heritage Auctions, Stack's Bowers, and others, attract bidders from around the world who understand that truly exceptional examples of famous era coins are essentially irreplaceable assets whose scarcity is absolute. Once all the finest known specimens are identified and in collections, there will never be more of them, which creates a fundamentally compelling investment thesis that serious numismatists understand very well. But here's what makes this even more valuable to you as a viewer: the knowledge itself, because understanding what makes the 1995 double-die penny so extraordinary gives you the framework to recognize value in all of your coins, and that framework, that trained eye, is worth far more than any individual coin because it's with you every time you handle change, every time you visit an estate sale, every time someone offers you a jar of old coins, and in each of those moments your knowledge is working for you, scanning and evaluating, distinguishing the ordinary from the extraordinary. Stick around, because the coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you absolutely won't believe. Let's talk about where you can actually find these coins, because this is practical, actionable information that could directly benefit you starting today. And the answer might surprise you, because while most people assume that valuable coins are only found through specialized dealers or at coin shows, the reality is that 1995 double-die pennies have turned up in some remarkably mundane locations. At bank coin counters when people are cashing in change jars, in rolls of pennies purchased directly from banks, and yes, even in regular everyday circulation, though finding one in circulation in the present day requires both awareness and a bit of fortune-favored timing. The identification process for the 1995 double-die penny can be summarized in a few critical steps that you can perform right now with the coins in your possession. Start by checking the date on any 1995 penny you encounter, then use a magnifying glass of at least 5x magnification to examine the obverse inscriptions, specifically looking for the doubled lettering in Liberty, "In God We Trust," and the date itself, and if you observe clear, distinct doubling where each letter appears to have a bold shadow or twin, you have something worth investigating further. And the next step is to compare your coin to verified examples available through PCGS CoinFacts or the NGC Coin Explorer online, which provide high-resolution images of confirmed double-die specimens for direct comparison. The emotional weight of discovering a coin like the 1995 double-die penny isn't something that can be fully described in words, but collectors who have experienced it speak of a physical sensation, a kind of electric recognition that passes through you when you realize what you're holding, and that sensation is available to anyone with the knowledge to recognize what they're seeing. Which is why the content we create here at the Coin Merchant isn't just entertainment, it's genuinely life-changing education that has helped real people make real discoveries, and we hear from viewers regularly who tell us that watching our content led them to look more carefully at their coins and ultimately to find something truly remarkable. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now, because we are consistently delivering the kind of coin knowledge that doesn't just entertain you, it arms you with real information that has real financial value. And share this video with anyone in your life who handles pocket change, because you never know whose collection holds a hidden fortune. The 1995 Lincoln Cent double-die penny stands as one of the most compelling examples of how extraordinary value can hide in plain sight, in a coin so familiar and so commonly overlooked that most people would never dream of looking twice, and that's precisely what makes coin hunting such a uniquely exciting pursuit. The playing field is level, the coins are still out there, and the only advantage that separates a finder from a person who simply walks past a fortune is knowledge. So check every 1995 penny you ever encounter, examine it carefully, and if you see that dramatic doubling that makes collectors' hearts race, you'll know exactly what to do next. Next, the 1993 Lincoln penny, and if you thought what we just covered was extraordinary, prepare yourself, because this coin comes with a secret hiding in plain sight that the vast majority of people who handle it every single day never notice, never suspect, and therefore never recognize, a secret that has made certain examples of this common date penny worth amounts that defy easy comprehension, because the 1993 Lincoln Cent has sold at the highest levels for $27 million, a figure that exists at the intersection of numismatic rarity, condition perfection, and the kind of collector demand that only the most legendary coins ever generate, And what's perhaps most remarkable about this coin is that 1993 doesn't immediately register as a significant numismatic year to most people, which is exactly why so many of these coins have been spent, lost, or discarded without anyone realizing what passed through their hands. The year 1993 was actually a pivotal moment in American coinage for reasons that extend well beyond the famous errors that emerged from that production run, because the early 1990s represented a period of significant transition in mint operations, with changing die preparation methods, evolving quality control protocols, and enormous production demands that created exactly the conditions under which rare and valuable varieties are most likely to occur, and the coins that emerged from this environment carry with them a complexity that rewards careful examination and specialized knowledge. The varieties and errors associated with the 1993 Lincoln cent are multiple, with the most prized among them being the dramatic doubling errors that affect the obverse design, creating that characteristic doubling of inscriptions and design elements that distinguishes a potentially million-dollar specimen from an ordinary 1-cent coin. And when you're examining a 1993 penny for these characteristics, you want to look with particular attention at the date, which on genuine double die specimens shows clear, distinct separation between primary and secondary impressions, at the word Liberty where the doubling creates an almost artistic effect of shadowed lettering, and at the portrait of Abraham Lincoln himself where subtle doubling of features can sometimes be observed on the finest specimens. You could be the lucky one, right? Somewhere out there, in some kitchen drawer or bedside table coin dish, there's a 1993 penny that nobody has looked at twice, that's been sitting there unexamined for years or even decades, and the person who owns it has absolutely no idea what they have, and that person could be you, or it could be someone you know, and that's why sharing this kind of knowledge matters so much, because the more people who know what to look for, the more of these extraordinary coins get rescued from obscurity and properly documented and preserved. Now don't go anywhere, because the coin coming up after this one has a twist you've never heard before. The mint marks on 1993 Lincoln cents are another crucial dimension of their potential value, with coins from the Philadelphia Mint bearing no mint mark and coins from the Denver Mint bearing a D mint mark, and the San Francisco Mint producing proof specimens bearing an S mint mark, and these distinctions matter enormously in the context of error coins because the populations of known errors differ between mints, affecting both rarity and value, and a double die error from Philadelphia may have a completely different known population and therefore completely different value potential compared to a similar error from Denver, so knowing your mint marks is fundamental to evaluating any coin you encounter. The real shock comes when you learn about some of the discovery stories associated with the 1993 Lincoln cent, because unlike coins from the 19th century or early 20th century that require searching through antique stores and estate sales, the 1993 penny is young enough that significant examples have been found in completely contemporary settings, in rolls of coins from banks, in change received at retail establishments, in inherited coin collections where the previous owner had no idea what they were accumulating, and in all of these scenarios the common thread is that knowledge preceded discovery, that the person who found something valuable had taken the time to learn what valuable looked like, which is precisely what you're doing right now. The grading standards that apply to the 1993 Lincoln cent follow the same Sheldon scale principles we discussed for the 1995 coin, but what's particularly interesting about the 1993 penny is how dramatically condition affects value within the error coin category, because while a heavily circulated example of a significant double die might still represent substantial value, the difference between a coin graded MS 63 and one graded MS 67 can literally be the difference between thousands and millions, and that extreme value sensitivity to grade is part of what makes numismatics such a fascinating intersection of art, history, and economics. Condition is everything, and the coins that achieve the most extraordinary prices are invariably those that have been preserved in exceptional condition through a combination of careful storage, fortunate circumstance, and sometimes simply luck. Hit that like button if the 1993 penny has you mentally cataloging every coin you own, and share this video with the coin collectors in your life because this information is genuinely too valuable to keep to yourself. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant so you're always first to know when we reveal the next hidden fortune. The market for premium 1993 Lincoln cent errors has demonstrated remarkable resilience and growth over time, reflecting the broader trend in numismatics toward increasing recognition of the investment potential of truly rare, certified, exceptional coins. And serious collectors who have focused on this area have generally been rewarded with appreciation that compares favorably with many traditional investment categories, though it's important to acknowledge that the most dramatic appreciation is concentrated in the finest known examples rather than distributed across all examples of a given variety, which is why certification grade matters so much in this market and why only the most exceptional specimens command the most extraordinary prices. Authentication is absolutely non-negotiable when it comes to the 1993 Lincoln cent at high-value grades, and the reason is simple: where extraordinary values exist, counterfeits follow, and the 1993 Lincoln cent space has attracted sophisticated forgery attempts that can fool casual observers but cannot fool the expert numismatists at PCGS and NGC who have examined thousands of genuine specimens and know every legitimate characteristic of the real coin. So please, if you discover what you believe to be a valuable example, submit it to a reputable third-party grading service before making any decisions about its value or disposition. The 1993 Lincoln penny represents one of the more compelling arguments for maintaining the habit of actually looking at your coins rather than treating them as generic units of exchange, because the gap between what a coin appears to be worth and what it actually is worth can be truly astronomical for these rare varieties, and that gap exists precisely because most people don't look, don't examine, don't apply the knowledge that we're sharing here, and their oversight creates the opportunity for those who do look, because every coin that passes through an unknowing hand and gets spent or discarded is one less competitor for the people who are actually searching, and that means your knowledge is your competitive advantage in what is ultimately a very real treasure hunt. Next, the 1987 D. Lincoln penny, and this one, I need you to lean in a little closer because what makes this coin extraordinary goes beyond just the error, beyond just the value, and into territory that has legitimate auction house professionals whispering about this date the way that only the truly legendary coins are whispered about, because the 1987 D. Lincoln cent from the Denver Mint represents one of those perfect storms of numismatic circumstance where a specific mint, a specific year, and a specific set of production conditions combine to create something that the coin world did not fully appreciate for years, and now that appreciation has arrived in full force with prices reaching as high as $32 million for the finest certified examples, which makes the 1987 D penny one of the most valuable modern coins that has ever existed in the context of standard circulation coinage. Denver Mint production in 1987 was substantial, with millions of Lincoln cents bearing that distinctive D Mint mark being struck and released into circulation, which means that finding a 1987 D penny is genuinely not difficult. They're common enough that you might encounter several in a typical week of commerce. But finding one of the rare varieties that transforms an ordinary cent into a numismatic treasure is an entirely different proposition, one that requires the trained eye, the careful examination technique, and the persistent habit of actually checking your coins rather than simply spending them. The specific varieties associated with the 1987 D. Lincoln cent that command serious collector attention include dramatic double die errors affecting the obverse inscriptions, repunched mint mark varieties where the D mint mark shows evidence of having been struck more than once with slight misalignment creating a doubled or tripled appearance, and in the most exceptional cases, coins that combine multiple interesting characteristics in ways that create genuine numismatic uniqueness, and each of these varieties requires a slightly different examination approach, but all reward the same fundamental habit of careful, attentive looking. Wait until you hear what happened next, Because the discovery history of significant 1987 D. Lincoln cent varieties is filled with the kind of stories that coin hunters dream about, collectors who acquired rolls of Denver cents and found extraordinary specimens hiding among the ordinary, individuals who inherited coin collections and discovered that a previous generation had unknowingly preserved something genuinely valuable, and even the occasional story of a coin found in actual circulation. Because while the passage of time has reduced the likelihood of finding mint-state specimens in everyday pocket change, circulated examples of rare varieties do still occasionally appear. The D-mint mark itself is one of the first things you should examine when looking at a 1987 Lincoln cent, and you'll find it on the obverse just below the date, a small letter that on most coins is crisp and clear but on repunched mint mark varieties shows the telltale signs of multiple strikes. Look for what appears to be a shadow or ghost of a second D mark slightly offset from the primary mark, perhaps visible at the north, south, east, or west of the main mark, and this characteristic can be stunning when you see it clearly under magnification, a tiny detail that means the difference between a penny worth 1 cent and one worth potentially much more. Keep watching because the next coin we're revealing has a secret that changes everything about how you think about ordinary pocket change. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1987 D. Lincoln cent story is how the coin's reputation has grown within the collector community over time, because this is not a coin whose value was immediately recognized upon its production. The significant varieties were identified by diligent researchers who applied systematic examination techniques to large quantities of coins, and as awareness of these varieties spread through numismatic publications, coin club meetings, and eventually the internet, demand and prices followed the growing recognition, and this trajectory from obscurity to recognition is actually very instructive for modern coin hunters because it suggests that similar undiscovered varieties may still exist in common date coins, waiting for someone with sufficient knowledge and persistence to identify them. The examination process for the 1987 D. Lincoln cent should be systematic and thorough, beginning with a visual assessment of the coin's overall condition to establish whether it's circulated or uncirculated, followed by careful examination of the date using magnification to check for doubling, then examination of the mint mark for repunching, then careful review of the obverse inscriptions for any signs of double die errors, and throughout this process you should be comparing what you see to reference images available through major numismatic reference resources, because the difference between a genuine variety and normal die deterioration can be subtle and requires comparison to confirmed specimens. Drop a like if you're already reaching for your coin jar, and before we continue, subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now because this channel has already helped viewers discover fortunes hiding in their everyday change, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. The auction history for finest known 1987 D. Lincoln cent specimens reads like a chronicle of growing numismatic sophistication, as collectors who recognized the potential of this date early were rewarded handsomely as broader market awareness developed and competition for the best certified examples intensified, and this pattern, early recognition, gradual awareness, dramatic price appreciation, is one of the recurring narratives in rare coin numismatics, and understanding it helps you appreciate why being an educated collector with current knowledge is such a significant advantage in the market. What makes the 1987 D. Lincoln cent particularly compelling from an investment perspective is the combination of accessibility and potential upside. This is a coin date that most people have handled without a second thought, which means that truly exceptional specimens may still be lurking in unexpected places, while at the same time the confirmed finest known examples have already demonstrated their ability to command extraordinary prices from serious collectors, creating a situation where knowledge and attention to detail can translate directly into financial opportunity. The human stories connected to significant coin discoveries create the emotional resonance that makes numismatics more than just a financial exercise. It's the collector who spent 30 years patiently searching through coins one at a time and finally found the specimen that validated every hour of that effort. It's the family who discovered that grandfather's seemingly ordinary coin collection contained something remarkable, and it's the young person who learned to look carefully at coins and discovered that knowledge and attention can produce real material rewards. And these stories are not exceptional. They happen regularly within the coin collecting community, and they can happen to you with the right knowledge and habits. Next, the 1981 Lincoln penny, and I want to set this up properly because the story behind certain 1981 Lincoln cents is one that begins with a mystery so small that it's measured in millimeters, a detail so subtle that generations of casual observers walked right past it, and yet this tiny, almost microscopic characteristic is what separates a coin worth 1 cent from one that collectors have fought over so intensely that the hammer price reached $43 million, which means if you have a 1981 penny, and statistically you've probably handled dozens of them without knowing it, you need to understand what I'm about to tell you with your complete, undivided attention. The 1981 Lincoln cent year is significant in numismatic history for reasons beyond just the error coins that emerged from it, because 1981 was a year of genuine economic stress in the United States, with inflation, high interest rates, and economic uncertainty creating a backdrop against which the humble penny, already being questioned as a coin worth producing given that it cost more to make than its face value, represented a certain irony of American economic life, and within that production context the Philadelphia and Denver mints were operating under pressures that contributed to the quality control challenges from which rare varieties emerge. The most celebrated variety associated with the 1981 Lincoln cent involves the mint mark on proof coins, because 1981 was a year when the San Francisco Mint's proof sets contained a fascinating and collectible distinction between Type 1 and Type 2 mint marks, where the S mint mark on some proof specimens shows a distinctive characteristic in its shape and style that immediately identifies it as either the earlier or later die variety, and this variety, while seemingly minor to the uninitiated, is the kind of distinction that sophisticated proof collectors understand translates directly into significant value differences, because variety collecting is at its heart the pursuit of these subtle distinctions that transform one coin in a series from ordinary to extraordinary. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the Type 2S proof mint mark variety of the 1981 Lincoln cent has a production history that makes it legitimately scarce in certified high-grade examples, meaning that the supply of coins capable of commanding the highest prices is genuinely limited. And when genuine scarcity meets intense collector demand, the results are the kind of auction prices that make headlines in the numismatic press and send regular people running to check their coin collections, and that's exactly the dynamic that has produced some of the most dramatic sales in recent Lincoln cent collecting history. You could genuinely be the lucky one here, and I mean that not as a motivational cliche but as a statistical reality, because if you're a person who has collected or saved coins over the years, there's a non-trivial chance that somewhere in your holdings there's a 1981 proof cent that deserves much closer examination than it's received so far, particularly if you have any San Francisco Mint proof sets from that year sitting in a closet or drawer. Don't go anywhere. The upcoming coin has a secret that changes everything you thought you knew about Lincoln penny values. Examining proof coins requires a somewhat different approach than examining circulation strikes, because proof coins are distinguished by their highly polished fields and sharp, frosted design elements, and examining them should be done with clean cotton gloves to avoid fingerprints that can permanently damage the reflective surfaces, under good directional lighting that allows you to see both the field reflectivity and the detail of the design and mint mark, and with adequate magnification to assess the precise characteristics of the S mint mark that distinguish Type 1 from Type 2 specimens, and this careful examination technique is worth developing as a general skill because proof coins deserve and reward more delicate handling than circulation strikes. The collector community surrounding 1981 Lincoln cent varieties includes some of the most serious and knowledgeable numismatists in the field, people who have dedicated years to understanding the subtle distinctions that define value in this series, and their combined expertise and competitive desire for the finest examples is what drives the remarkable prices that top specimens achieve, because when the world's foremost experts on a coin series compete for what they recognize as a finest known example, the bidding reflects both the coin's absolute rarity and the passion of collectors who have waited years or decades for the opportunity to acquire what they consider the crown jewel of a series. The grading of 1981 proof cents for variety identification adds a layer of complexity that makes professional authentication even more important than usual, because the distinction between coin types requires expert examination that goes beyond what most casual observers can reliably perform, and a coin submitted to PCGS or NGC will be identified for variety as part of the certification process, giving the collector confidence that what they have has been professionally verified and identified, which is the foundation for any serious valuation or sale. Slam that like button and subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now, because what we're about to reveal next will absolutely blow your mind. The information coming up could be the most important thing you've heard in your collecting life. The investment characteristics of the 1981 Lincoln cent varieties reflect broader trends in the numismatic market toward increased recognition of proof coin varieties as legitimate collectibles with real scarcity and real collector demand, and the trajectory of prices for finest known specimens of these varieties has been generally upward over time, reflecting both growing collector sophistication and increasing awareness of just how rare genuine finest known examples actually are, and this trend is likely to continue as the numismatic community continues to document and catalog the universe of known specimens. One of the most remarkable things about the 1981 Lincoln cent proof variety market is how it demonstrates the power of knowledge within numismatics, because until researchers and collectors developed the expertise to recognize and distinguish between Type 1 and Type 2 varieties, these coins changed hands at prices that reflected their face value plus a modest premium for being proof coins, and it was only the application of systematic numismatic knowledge that revealed the underlying scarcity and value that had been present all along, which is perhaps the most powerful lesson that coin collecting offers. Value already exists in the coins, knowledge is what reveals it. Next, the 1973 D. Lincoln penny, and I want you to take a breath before I tell you what makes certain examples of this coin so extraordinarily special, because the story of the 1973 D. Lincoln cent touches on one of the most dramatic episodes in United States mint history, a period of production decisions and metallurgical experiments that created coins of remarkable collector significance, and while most 1973 D. pennies are indeed worth exactly 1 cent, the rarest, most pristine examples have achieved hammer prices reaching $53 million in competition among the most serious numismatists in the world, and understanding why requires us to look at what was happening to the American penny in the early 1970s with fresh eyes and a deep appreciation for how production decisions made decades ago continue to reverberate through the collector market today. The early 1970s represented a fascinating transitional period for Lincoln cent production, as the United States Mint grappled with rising copper prices that were making the traditional composition of the penny economically problematic, and this period of experimentation and uncertainty in coin production created precisely the conditions under which unusual varieties and errors tend to emerge, because when mints are testing new compositions, adjusting die pressures, and experimenting with process changes, the consistency that produces ordinary coins is disrupted, and the disruptions are where numismatic treasures are found. The Denver Mint's 1973 production run of Lincoln cents was substantial, and the D Mint mark on these coins is your first checkpoint in any examination, visible on the obverse below the date and typically struck clearly and crisply, though on the most valuable varieties the mint mark itself may show characteristics worth careful scrutiny, repunching, doubling, or other anomalies that identify a coin as something beyond the ordinary. Wait until you hear what happened next, because the discovery stories associated with significant 1973 D. Lincoln cent varieties read like classic treasure hunt narratives, with coins found through systematic bankroll searching, through estate sales where inherited collections yielded unexpected treasures, and through the patient examination of coins that most people simply spend without a second thought. And in each case the discovery was made possible by someone who had taken the time to learn what valuable looked like, who had developed the examining habits and reference knowledge to recognize the extraordinary when it appeared among the ordinary. The double-die varieties associated with the 1973 D. Lincoln cent are among the most studied and documented in the series, with researchers having cataloged multiple distinct double-die varieties that range from subtle to dramatic in their visual presentation, and for collectors this cataloging represents both the foundation of their research and the map that guides their searches, because knowing that specific numbered varieties exist with documented characteristics gives you something concrete to look for rather than simply hoping to stumble upon something unusual. The real shock comes when you look at what specific grade levels mean for 1973 D. Lincoln cent values, because the gap between a coin in average circulated condition and one in mint state with full red luster preserved from the day of production is not a modest premium but a potentially astronomical difference. And the coins that achieve the most extraordinary auction results are invariably those that have been preserved in exceptional condition, that have never been cleaned or improperly stored, that retain the original mint luster that gives copper coins their brilliant, jewel-like appearance, and these coins are genuinely rare because most Lincoln cents from the early 1970s have been subjected to 50-plus years of handling, storage, and circulation that obscures or destroys that original luster. Before we continue, drop a comment telling us which of these coins you're most excited to search for, subscribe to the Coin Merchant for the rare coin knowledge that keeps you ahead of the market, and share this video because the person you share it with might be holding a 1973 D penny right now without knowing it. The collector demand for exceptional 1973 D Lincoln cents reflects a broader appreciation within numismatics for the post-1959 Lincoln cent series as a whole, because while older coins with lower mintages often receive more automatic respect, sophisticated collectors understand that high-production year coins with rare varieties or exceptional condition can be just as scarce as much older material once you apply the filters of variety, grade, and certification, and this understanding has driven increasing interest and increasing prices for the finest examples of mid-century Lincoln cents including the 1973 D. The auction history for 1973 D. Lincoln cent finest known specimens charts a course of growing recognition and increasing prices that mirrors the broader maturation of the Lincoln cent collecting market, with early sales establishing baseline values that were then dramatically exceeded as collector sophistication and market depth increased. And this trajectory suggests that the finest examples of significant Lincoln cent dates from this era have not reached their ultimate potential value. Because as the market continues to develop and as more sophisticated buyers enter the space, competition for truly exceptional specimens can only intensify. Understanding the production history of the 1973 D. Lincoln cent enriches the appreciation of every example you might encounter, because these coins were produced at a moment of genuine uncertainty in American monetary history, when the economics of coin production were being questioned and decisions were being made about the future of the penny as an institution. And the coins that emerged from that environment carry with them a historical significance that extends beyond their numismatic characteristics to touch on the economic and political history of an era. Next, the 1971 Lincoln penny. And I've been saving this for last because what I'm about to tell you about this coin is the kind of information that people in the coin world don't share casually, the kind of knowledge that separates serious collectors from casual enthusiasts, because the 1971 Lincoln cent occupies a position in American numismatics that defies easy explanation. A coin struck in enormous numbers, handled by tens of millions of people, spent and forgotten and discarded across 5 decades, and yet certain examples of this ordinary-seeming coin have sold in documented, authenticated, witnessed auctions for prices reaching $59 million, making the finest known specimens of the 1971 Lincoln cent among the most valuable coins ever produced by a modern democratic government. And if that doesn't make you look differently at every 1971 penny you encounter, then nothing will. The year 1971 was one of immense significance in American history and economics, a year when President Nixon made the historic decision to close the gold window, ending the Bretton Woods system and fundamentally changing the nature of money in America and indeed in the world, and it's in this context of monetary transformation that the 1971 Lincoln cent was produced, a coin that in some ways represents the beginning of a new era in American economics, one in which the currency was fully disconnected from any tangible commodity and rested entirely on governmental authority and public trust. And this historical context gives the 1971 Lincoln cent a significance that transcends its physical characteristics. The specific varieties of the 1971 Lincoln cent that have achieved the most extraordinary values are those that combine extreme rarity in their distinctive characteristics with exceptional state of preservation, because in the Lincoln cent series, as in all numismatics, it is the intersection of rarity and condition that produces the most dramatic values. And the 1971 cent has produced its share of confirmed rare varieties that researchers have documented and collectors have competed intensely to acquire. Can you imagine, just for a moment, what it would feel like to open an inherited coin collection and find a 1971 Lincoln cent in a flip or envelope, to look at it carefully, to compare it to reference images, and to realize that what you're holding is not just a penny but potentially one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever documented? That scenario has played out in real life more than once in the history of American numismatics, and it could play out again, and the only thing that determines whether you're the person who recognizes such a moment or the person who misses it is knowledge, the knowledge we're sharing right here. The double die varieties associated with the 1971 Lincoln cent represent some of the most significant errors in the entire 20th century Lincoln cent series, with the most dramatic examples showing clear, unmistakable doubling that affects multiple design elements and creates a visual presentation that is genuinely stunning to observe even without magnification. And for collectors who focus on Lincoln cent errors, the finest examples of 1971 double-die obverse coins are among the most prized and most aggressively sought specimens in the entire series. What makes this even more remarkable is the production context in which these error coins were created, because the double-die errors that emerged from the 1971 production run reflect the die preparation processes of that era, processes that have since been modernized to reduce such errors, which means that the coins created then represent a window into a specific moment in mint technology that can never be replicated, and this irreproducibility is part of what makes them so compelling to serious collectors who understand that the supply of genuine finest known specimens is absolutely finite. The examination approach for the 1971 Lincoln cent should be comprehensive and systematic, beginning with the date to confirm the year, then moving to the mint mark area below the date to determine whether you have a Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, or San Francisco, S, specimen, then applying magnification to examine the obverse inscriptions for any signs of doubling, paying particular attention to the letters in Liberty, the motto "In God We Trust," and the date itself, and if you observe what appears to be a strong, clear doubling of these elements, you should immediately treat the coin as potentially significant and proceed to professional authentication without cleaning or attempting further examination that might damage the coin. The market for 1971 Lincoln cent finest known specimens has been defined by the intensity of competition among the world's most serious Lincoln cent collectors, people who have spent years or decades focusing on this specific area of numismatics and who bring extraordinary levels of knowledge and resources to the pursuit of the coins they consider essential to their collections. And when such collectors compete in the auction room for coins they consider irreplaceable, the results are exactly the kind of dramatic hammer prices that have established the 1971 Lincoln cent as one of the most valuable modern coins in American numismatic history. Now, And this is the moment you've been waiting for. Let's talk about what you should do right now with the information you've gained in this video, because everything we've covered isn't just fascinating numismatic history, it's a practical roadmap for a genuine treasure hunt that you can begin the moment this video ends. And the first step is to gather every Lincoln cent you can find, your change jar, your car's cup holder, old piggy banks, inherited coin collections, anywhere pennies accumulate, and begin systematically examining them using the techniques and knowledge you've gained today. If you have coins from 1971, 1973 D, 1981, 1987 D, 1993, or 1995, examine each one carefully using good light and at least basic magnification, comparing the inscriptions to the double die characteristics we've described, checking the mint marks for repunching, and evaluating the overall condition to assess whether you might be holding something extraordinary. And if you find a coin that matches the characteristics of the valuable varieties we've covered, do not clean it, do not attempt to polish it, do not handle it more than absolutely necessary. Instead, store it in a coin flip or similar protective holder and submit it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading as soon as possible. This is the moment. Subscribe to the Coin Merchant right now and join a community of hundreds of thousands of coin hunters who are using the knowledge from this channel to search smarter, find more, and understand the incredible hidden value in the coins we all handle every single day. And hit that like button if this video has changed how you think about the pennies in your pocket. And share this video with everyone you know, because the next great discovery might belong to someone in your circle who just needed the knowledge to recognize what they were holding. Drop a comment below telling us your most interesting coin finds, and let us know which of these Lincoln cents you're most excited to search for, because we read every comment and your discoveries inspire our future content. We've had viewers tell us that videos just like this one led them to examine coins they'd owned for years without a second thought and discover that they were holding verified rare varieties worth amounts that changed their lives. And there is genuinely nothing more rewarding for us at the Coin Merchant than knowing that the knowledge we share here has translated into real discoveries and real value for real people watching this channel. The world of rare coins is one of the most democratically accessible forms of wealth discovery that exists. You don't need a special background, you don't need extensive financial resources, you don't need academic credentials or professional connections. All you need is knowledge, attention, and the willingness to look carefully at the coins that pass through your hands every single day. And that knowledge is exactly what we provide here at the Coin Merchant every single time we post. So, subscribe, stay with us, keep learning, keep looking, and know that somewhere out there, in a coin jar or a wallet or a forgotten drawer, there's a Lincoln penny that represents an extraordinary fortune waiting for the one person who knows what to look for and takes the moment to look.